If you're struggling to apply your color palette in Figma as a beginner, want to apply dark and light mode easily, there's a power feature you really need in your design life. Just imagine we're using every single color without copy pasting, changing your entire screens to dark mode in only 2 clicks, and replacing colors in your entire design in seconds. That is the power of Figma styles and variables, and today you're gonna learn how to harness their power. Hello, MJ here. I'm a senior UI UX designer, and color styles and variables is our hot topic in today's episode. So let's start from the beginning. Styles and variables are 2 different things in Figma. They serve a very similar purpose, but spoiler alert, one is much better than the other. So let's start with styles. Styles are just presets. You have a pretty purple color, you save it as a preset to use it later, you have a style. Styles can also be used for other things, but today we're only talking about color. Now, saving a color style in Figma is super easy. You just need to select the element that has the color, go to your right sidebar on Figma, and because we want to save the fill, we're going to the fill section. Then press the 4 dots button, this one, then plus button on top, and then we're going to choose the style tab. Okay, let's add a name. Let's say maybe primary button background. The description is optional, so we're skipping this. Then you'll already see the color assigned here. Then just click create style, and we have our first style. If I want to reuse it, let's say you make a new button and maybe you want to use the same style, just click the button element, select the 4 dots under the fill section, and choose the style from the list, and you will see it over here. In our case, it's the primary button background. And just like that, you have a reusable color style. Now, at first this seems good and all, but there are 2 huge problems with this. First, for design consistency, we are most likely going to reuse every single color in our color palette for different elements. You could use the same shade of purple for maybe a border, a background, a button, maybe some text, an icon, and calling it primary button background will be very confusing in the long run, especially when you have more than 10 colors, which you'll definitely have. And second problem, if you want to change this from light to dark mode, you will definitely need to change every single freaking color manually. And if you're already experiencing all these issues in your designs, this video will be such an eye-opener for you. Because styles may be good for some things, but for colors, there is a much better way. So don't skip this next topic, because once you understand it, reusing and managing your colors will be so easy that you'll feel like a fish in the water, happily swimming surrounded by your beautiful color palette. And the topic to put all your attention to is color variables. Styles are just legacy. Styles are just babies in comparison to variables. And you don't want to use babies, do you? Okay, that sounded kind of weird, but you know what I mean, right? And if you didn't, that's fine, that's fine. I will explain what a variable is now. The word variable sounds a bit daunting because it's a coding term, but a variable is just a piece of information that has a name. That's it, that's all it is. Let's say you have the color purple. So for a color variable, your piece of information could be purple, and the name, you can put whatever name. So maybe it's primary button background. And there you go, you just made a variable. Easy, right? Now, before we make this in Figma, I'll explain one more thing. Because once you understand this next concept, everything else will be pretty easy in Figma for variables. You will usually have a long list of colors, right? Not just one. And this will be basically a list of variables. Figma called this list collections. So your list of variables is just called collections in Figma. Simple and easy, right? Okay, let's go to Figma. Now Figma has 4 types of variables: color, number, text, and boolean. But honestly, the color variables are the ones that matter the most. They will literally save you a lot of minutes of your design life. The other types of variables are more like advanced features, so we'll ignore them today. I'm sure you're very excited to learn this amazing feature, but very quick. If you're here right now, congratulations! You're now on episode 4 of the Smart Figma method that will take you from feeling slow and overwhelmed with Figma to working with clarity, confidence, and speed, knowing exactly what to use and when, designing faster than you thought possible, harnessing the power of AI within Figma, and work as a professional even if you're still a beginner. Right now you're right here in the ladder to become a Figma powerhouse, and today you're going to move up by learning how to use this amazing power feature, color variables. So keep your excitement up because we're already starting, and right here we have a very simple color palette. And also a very sad looking wireframe that is urging to get colorized. I assign names to the colors based on Figma best practices. For example, surface primary is the main color for backgrounds, button primary background is our main color for our buttons, and so on. On this side, I have a dark mode version of the palette, and all of these are not variables yet. We're just organizing our colors so we can set them up faster later. Now, we can clearly see here that many of our colors are repeated. So these almost white colors repeated, these grays, and of course our primary color. We could just add variables for each of these circles, but we want to save time, right? So to avoid double work, we're grouping the color copies like this. And again, I'm using the best practices for naming the colors, and you can see this 50, 100, 200, all the way until 900, right? This scales goes from more white, so that's the gray 50, to less white or darker, which is the gray 900. I only have one purple color right now, so I'll assign purple 600 just in case we add more shades later. And perfect, let's start adding them as variables, and we'll do this in 2 steps. Step 1 is adding our color palette, so all of these. And step 2 will be assigning the colors to the elements, also through variables. So let's start with step 1. First, click anywhere in the background. Then on your right sidebar, we click on this button called Open Variables. Now Figma gives you an empty collection by default called Collection 1. And remember, a collection is just a list of variables, right? Let's rename this collection with a double click. And I'm going to call it Color Palette, so it's easy to understand, but the formal name is primitives, and that's because eventually designers add variables other than color, so you can have variables for spacing, for text sizes, and such. And the word primitives is just a more encompassing word, but I feel it's kind of confusing for beginners, so I'm just going to do this so you can identify what it is if you see it somewhere else. Okay, let's create a variable for color. The first column for the collection is name, so we're just going to add this entire list on this table. We first have gray 50 as a name. And we're using this sample color button to get a sample of our gray 50 in our canvas. Okay, we have our first variable. Let's go to the next one and let's click the create variable button that we have below. And we're doing exactly the same for the rest of the colors. Quick note, if you have a row highlighted like this, Figma will treat it as if you want to add it under the gray group, and it will look like this. This is not what we want. Instead, unhighlight the row first by clicking anywhere outside the row, and then add the color name, like this. Okay, we're adding the purple now, and now you may have noticed that the colors are already categorized by the color name, like purple. We have the purple here, and then gray. We have the gray here neatly organized, and that is because when we use the slash in the name, Figma is already taking it as a category. If you need to delete or modify a variable, just right click on the row and you'll see more options right there. Okay, we have all our colors in our collection. It's time for step 2, which is assigning which element will use which color. And for this, we're doing another collection. Stay with me because I assure you this will save you a ton of headaches. So let's click here to open our panel, then plus to add another collection, and let's call this collection Elements. The formal name for this collection is Tokens, but I believe that's also confusing for beginners. So I'll just leave that here just in case you see it anywhere else, you can identify what this actually is. And okay, let's start adding our elements for light mode, and we're starting with our surface. So let's copy this name. And now, because we already have our color palette collection, we can do this. So first click on libraries, and guess what this list is? Exactly, it's our color palette collection, neatly organized for us to just pick the color we desire, which in this case is gray 50. And this is so amazing because actually, let me finish adding the elements and I'll show you an example because you really have to see this. Okay, so I'm doing exactly the same for the other elements here. Remember, these are already getting categorized by element's name because we use the slash on our names, right? Great, we have everything set up. It's time to add color to this very sad wireframe, and this will be super easy. Starting with the background, we click it, open the 4 dots under fill, and choose the color not from the color palette, but from the elements collection that we already assigned the colors to, right? Great, now let's repeat this for the rest of the elements. So this will be the main button, so we need the button primary background. For the text is the button primary text. Just do the same for every element in the screen. Okay, rewind. This setup is amazing because, and this happens very often, if you or your client sees these screens and says, that purple color looks a lot like FedEx. Let's just use a different shade. Would you believe me if I tell you, you just need to do one change and every single color in your entire design will change automatically? Exactly. Now, you just need to open your variables, go to your color palette or primitives, and modify this purple color to the right purple or the different shade, and all your design will change accordingly. How amazing is that? It's like we're wizards now. And congrats, my dear design wizard. You just made your first color variables and made your life so much easier. Quick note, we're creating color variables in only 2 steps. So first we're making a color palette, and second step, we're just doing the elements. But if your team already has a design system or is working a design system, they could potentially have a more complex type of organizations for their variables. What you're learning today is just the simplest way to start as beginners. Now, what if your client tells you, oh, this looks great, but how does it look like in dark mode? Now, instead of staring at him with repressed rage in your eyes, you can just add another mode to your variables. And this is very similar to what we did before. So let's go back to our elements. If you haven't added the dark version of your color palette, you have to do that first inside the color palette collection. But once you have them there, under our elements collection, let's close this sidebar. This column named value is already our light mode, because all of these colors are for our light version, right? So let's rename this as light mode. And now we can add another column using the plus button and call it dark mode. It will automatically copy the colors from the previous column. So let's change them. For our surface primary, this is our background, and this will be gray 90. The primary button will remain the same because it's our brown color. And let's just assign the rest of the elements the same way. Perfect. Now, I hope you're ready to learn this new magic spell because The first time I saw it, it was so new that it just blew my mind away. Okay, let's duplicate our frame holding Alt and dragging. Make sure you have the frame selected. Then on the right side, under Appearance, you'll see a new button added, and this is called Apply Variable Mode. Now, very important because this is very frustrating for a lot of beginners. If you have a random frame, let's just make one. This option will not appear unless I have at least one element assigned to a color variable with a mode. So not assigned to this colors collection because this collection does not have a mode. They have to be assigned to the elements collection because this is the one that has the mode. So if I drag the button that is already assigned to the elements collection, the option will show. Okay, let's assign it to dark mode and see the magic. Isn't that amazing? Oh, and you can do another awesome thing, which I've done in front of my clients and they get all impressed for some reason. If you drag any element from your light mode screen, it will automatically change. Even my team was blown away the first time they saw this. And that, my friend, is why variables is the most powerful tool you can have for colors in Figma. If you still have questions about color variables, let me know in the comments. I'm here to help. But don't go yet. If you really want to be able to use variables, you need to practice. So you have homework, my dear designer. So just make 6 color variables in your color palette collection. The first 3 will be for light mode and the other 3 will be for dark mode. So one will be for a button background, for button text, and for a main background. Then make a new element collection with a button background, a button text, and a surface background. Add a dark mode to that collection and assign the colors. And you'll be ready to test it. So make 2 frames, one assigned to light mode and the other assigned to dark mode, and just drag your button, and if your button changes automatically, then you did it correctly. And congrats, you officially moved up the ladder again, and you're one step closer to become a Figma powerhouse. But you don't need to stop here because fonts are absolutely everywhere in our designs. And today you learned to reuse color, but in the next episode you'll learn how to reuse all your fonts using the amazing Figma power features. So subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button just so you can get notified on the next episode, and you can find it right here when it's published.